and welcome back to Croft for day.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Croft Circuit for day 2 of this British Racing and Sports Car Club Caterham Race Weekend. Whether you're watching trackside or on the live stream on Facebook and YouTube, welcome either here or welcome back if you were here for yesterday's action, where it was full of racing from Caterham's and the Fun Cup Endurance Championship. Yesterday's racing was superb, and we're expecting that today's 7 races are going to be just as frenetic. Scott Wood was here in the commentary box. Andy McKeon will be with me shortly. We couldn't quite get him in the assembly area to do a quick intro for our first race, but we can at least run you through how today's racing is going to take place. So we've got all 3 of the Caterham Championships that competed yesterday. And alongside them, we also have both groups from the Lovecars Caterham Academy Championship. We've just finished up qualifying for both of their groups consecutively, white group and then the green group. And also we have an additional pair of races for the next instalment of the 2021 Nankai Tyre BMW City Car Cup, which is one of the latest new sensations to be put together by the British Racing and Sports Car Club, and has been popular ever since it kicked off last June, and it's been running its first full season here this year. Well, it started off with a magnificent 38 cars in the season. We've still got a healthy grid here for this weekend at Croft. So the first race coming up here for this afternoon is going to be our second race of the weekend for the Bilstein Caterham 7 310R Championship. These are the fastest Caterhams that you will see all weekend, and they will be looking to put on quite an entertaining display as they did yesterday. We've still got just a few of our Caterham Academy drivers from their qualifying session that they just completed heading on to circuit, heading out off the circuit and back in from the qualifying session that we've just completed. And we'll give you the grids, of course, for those as and when they come up for those particular races. But drawing on yesterday, it was another victory for Lewis Thompson, who has been pretty much the man to beat ever since he first appeared this season. He missed the opening rounds at Donington Park, but ever since then, he has pretty much been the person that they needed to beat. Looking at all the races so far, he has won every single race. And he came into the weekend on drop scores, 7 points ahead of a former champion in Caterham, Pete Walters, who is on 144 points compared to 151 for Lewis Thompson on drop scores as well. Also, for equal third points, we had Harry Cook and James Wingfield tied, and then in the 5th position was Andrew Murgatroyd with 123. So looking back at yesterday's result, it was an incredible race, as it tends to be in Caterham Roadsport circles, but we'll take a look at where everyone finished in a moment's time. And the cars will be heading out, as you can see in the assembly area, ready to get going. Fantastic weather conditions here this afternoon, and great to see plenty of spectators out in the spectator grandstand down at Clairvaux. I was just down in the assembly area just not long ago and seeing plenty packed down there. We've got plenty of people who are packed on the banks up at Hawthorns, down at the complex as well. So for those of you who are watching trackside, thank you very much for coming, because of course it's not just it's great to see great racing, but it's also supporting Croft Circuit and club racing in general with the BRSCC. Also, we'll take this moment to give a big thank you as well this weekend to all of our fantastic marshals, to our officials, to our ambulance and recovery crews, and to all of our volunteers that are here this weekend that are making this weekend possible, because without volunteers and without marshals and all those people that give up their free time, we just couldn't run race weekends. And British marshals and volunteers, quite frankly, in my opinion, are the best in the world when it comes to motorsport, and there's no moving on that argument, because they really are well trained, they are so enthusiastic, so knowledgeable, and they do a fantastic job every single time that they're called on to do duty. So thank you very much to all of their hard efforts and their hard work. It is incredibly appreciated, and it's something that we are certainly going to be looking forward to all the way through. So, looking back at yesterday's race, it was a win for Lewis Thompson, who from David Yates in second place, who at one point was actually leading and started on the front row of the grid. He should do so again for this second race. He was looking very racy yesterday and was looking to try and get himself his first win in quite a while. So he's still second. James Wingfield rounded out the podium in third place. And Pete Walters didn't quite get on the same pace that he would wanted to have done with fourth. And Harry Landy rounded out the top five as the cars make their way now out of the assembly area for our first race of today. As we mentioned, the second of the weekend for the Bilstein Caterham 7 3 10-hour championship, the penultimate step on the Caterham Motorsport ladder. So these cars are the ultimate evolution of what starts out as the Caterham Academy car, and drivers in this championship typically are in their fourth season of racing. They've gone from the Academy through Roadsport, through 270R, and now into the 310R ranks, and this car essentially gets all the upgrades that it would get as you go through from Academy, because the great thing about the Caterham Motorsport package is that you buy the package initially, which is around about circa £30,000, but you get the race car on your entire racing season and the chance to gain your racing license and go through your ARTS test and your test days all in one go. And the Caterham Academy initially is for complete novice drivers that haven't raced before. They'll then go through a season of racing in the Academy, they'll graduate into Roadsport, then into 270 and 310R. But to save costs on having to buy a new car each time, you simply upgrade the Academy car that you have initially for each step of the way that you go. And when you get to 310Rs, it will have had the full quota of upgrades. So with the 310R cars, you get all the upgrades that you would normally get, which is the Roadsport and 270Rs. You get uprated tyres and a rear anti-roll bar, stiffer springs and dampers, a wider track front suspension. They also remove the windscreen and lights. And then for the 310Rs, they upgrade the engine to 152 brake horsepower and also add in a limited slip differential to make it faster, to make it handle better, to make it the most complete package that you can get for what starts out as the original Academy car. The only time you have to buy a new Caterham is if you step up into the top level, which is the Caterham 7 Championship UK. They're not here this weekend, they're out next weekend on the British GT Championship support package at Alton Park. So these are the fastest Caterhams that you'll see all weekend as they make their way around onto the grid for this second race. The grid is set by the results of race number 1 yesterday. So it will be Lewis Thompson back on pole position again in car 79. Alongside him will be David Yates in car 15. Lewis Thompson's car was the kind of iridescent, kind of gold, almost pearlescent coloured car on the pole position, which is to driver's right. Alongside him on the left will be the black and blue car of David Yates. Row 2 is James Wingfield in the blue and yellow red yellow machine. Alongside him is the black car of Pete Walters in car number 88. Harry Landy then comes next in the bright green number 21. Harry Cook in the red and black car in car number 9 will start on the third row. Andrew Murgatroyd in blue and yellow is car number 84 in 7th on the grid. Jeff Price is alongside him in the predominantly red and black car in 8th position. Next, Doug Christie in black and gold, and Gary Curtis will be alongside him in black and yellow. Next up is Henry Williams, who had some troubles in qualifying yesterday, but managed to pick his way up through to 11th place in the white, green and black car. And then we have Chris Welch alongside him in the predominantly red machine. It's then Dave Bullock and Steve Metcalf on the 7th row of the grid. Andy Lees, who's got some work to do from towards the back in car number 2, alongside former MX5 racer Sam Bailey, who, by the looks of it, unfortunately isn't on the grid. And Lars Hoffman, after he retired on the back straight towards Tower Corner with the mechanical problems, is in the red and white car at the back of the field. So, all set then for the first race of today. 30 30 minutes of race 2 of the weekend for the Bilstein Caterham 7-3 Tonner Championship. If you're trackside and watching on stream, get ready for action. The red lights are about to come on. It's a front row of Thompson and Yates who will win the whole shot down towards turn 1. We're racing on Sunday here at Croft. It's a great start from the second row of the grid initially from James Wingfield, but it's pretty equal down towards turn 1. Thompson gets the jump from pole on the inside down towards Clairvaux for the first time. Side by side for second. A speculative look up the inside of David Yates as James Wingfield, but they turn their way through. Everyone appears to be getting through pretty cleanly. Through Clairvaux, through Hawthorns, a couple of lock-ups into the second right-hander through the chicane and in towards the S's for the first time. Nice and clean initially, and it is out of the first couple of corners. Thompson leading. Wingfield is up to second past Yates, but Yates is in the slipstream. It's then Pete Walters fourth, Harry Landy fifth, and it's then to sixth place is Jeff Price. What a start from Jeff Price that was from about the fourth or fifth row of the grid. Big lock-up from Harry Landy up towards Tower in fifth position. He just about holds on to it as they turn out through the right-hander and up to the Jim Clark S's for the first time. Thompson already trying to gap the rest of the field as he comes down towards this high-speed left-right section. Pretty much flat out in these Caterham 310Rs, and then down towards the back of the circuit and up towards the complex for the first time at Barcroft. So you're watching on the live stream, we're catching the leaders as they come back down towards the complex, the double right-hander, which is Sunny in and then Sunny out. And now Thompson trying to pull a gap here as David Yates has found his way back into second place. So David Yates back past James Wingfield, and it's then in fourth position Pete Walters and Harry Landy, despite the lock-up, who's maintaining his top 5 position. Back into the complex for the first time then. So Thompson, Yates, Wingfield, Walters, and it's Harry Landy and Jeff Price with a great start up past both Andrew Murgatroyd and Harry Cook. So excellent stuff from Jeff as he turns out to the hairpin to 6. He's under pressure from Murgatroyd, but up to the end of lap 1, and it is going to be Lewis Thompson, who's pretty much been in the lead ever since he started this his season at Knock Hill back in June. Because he missed the opening rounds at Donington Park, and ever since then, no one's been able to knock him off the top spot. He's won 7 races on the bounce. No wonder on drop scores he is now top of the table, with Pete Walterson trying to close in. Speaking of Walters, he's just on the back of James Wingfield as they come up through the S's for the second time. And Thompson still leads, but David Yates has managed to put a small gap now to pull away from Lewis Thompson. And such is the strength of a toe in these cars, David Yates is already sailing up onto the back of Lewis Thompson, having a look up the inside. A little speculative look into Tower Bend, but so far Lewis Thompson was just far enough in front to maintain that position as they turn out through the right-hander and back onto the short straight towards the Jim Clark S's. Wingfield is closing back in, and he's bringing Pete Walters with him as they turn up through left and then right through the Jim Clark S's, and both David Yates and James Wingfield are closing in down towards Barcroft, but they can't quite get it done at the left right-hander. Now the complex up towards Sunny in and Sunny out. Maybe there's a chance for Yates to try and squeeze through, but they're both closing in, and Thompson's not being allowed to creep away here. Top 4 making a break as they turn out of Sunny out. Up into 5th place has gone, by the looks of it, Andrew Murgatroyd. There's been a bit of a shuffle round for 5th between Landy, Price and Murgatroyd. Cook's in there as well, but top 4 trying to break away. Jeff Price is still 6th behind Murgatroyd now. He's moved up into the top 5, but it's Harry Landy's been the big mover down. He's gone behind Murgatroyd, Price and Cook, and he's now down to about 8th position. So some work to do for Harry in the green car. Also making moves in the background, like you see Andy Lee's go up the inside of... He was alongside Douglas Christie. I think it might be, I think it was possibly Metcalf, possibly going past him. Meanwhile, James Wingfield sets the fastest lap of the race. 3 fastest laps set consecutively, but it goes to Wingfield in 3rd place. They come back in through Clairvaux for the 3rd time. 30-minute race, so they've got some time to settle down here before they start to get in amongst themselves. But top 4 trying to make that breakaway, leaving the rest of the pack to scrap amongst themselves. Thompson there with a couple of car lengths now over David Yates. 3rd place for Wingfield, 4th now for the Pete Walters, and further back we're looking at 22 here, which is Alan Curtis. And as they come back down towards the complex, up the inside of Jeff Price goes Harry Cook, and that will be a move for 6th position. So Cook past Price for P6. And the rest of the pack so far keeping trouble free as we're now getting up towards the first 5 minutes completed here in the first race of our Sunday action here at Croft on this British Racing and Sports Car Club Caterham race weekend. So the second group of cars, which you're seeing on screen on the live stream, we're watching Harry Cook closing on Andrew Murgatroyd. Jeff Price is getting a little bit closer as he comes through Sunny in, and then just losing momentum and just now starts to come under attack from Harry Landy, who needs to start recovering up positions after he dropped a few in that first couple of corners on the opening couple of laps. Top 4 then all together as they compress into the complex. Just looking at James Wingfield on screen under attack from Pete Walters, who was a long time points leader, but then the dominance of Lewis Thompson, saw him really get through there. Now behind, we should of course keep an eye on the progress of Lars Hoffman, because he started at the back of the grid in 16th, but he's now managed to work his way through, I think, into what's now 9th position. He's got past Doug Christie in the black and gold car. There's a black and white flag also going out for track limits. It's for a single number, so it's either for Harry Cook or for Andy Lee. So I can only see one number marker on the back of that pit board. So it's either Harry Cook or Andy Lee's is getting a slap on the wrist for track limits. If they keep on transgressing, going wide, I suspect it's probably either on the exit of Clairvaux or on the exit of Jim Clark S's through Barcroft, where there's quite a large piece of runoff tarmac that might work. Meanwhile, for the lead, up the inside looks again for the second time, David Yates, but still, Lewis Thompson keeps that car firmly planted in the middle of the road, and the loss of traction off the corner for being off the racing line just gives James Wingfield a chance to get back in. And the top three are now starting to drop the black car number 88 of Pete Walters, but the top three are still all together as they went out of sight. We're looking on screen here at Jeff Price being chased down by Andrew Murgatroyd and Harry Landy. Now that means that looks like Price has got past Murgatroyd, so Murgatroyd is another one that's dropping backwards, as is Harry Landy. As they come up through sunny in and sunny out, that's starting to spread out a little bit more. And they're all chasing Harry Cook at this point, because Cook's got past Price in that sequence. Now back with the leaders, still David Yates, who looked quite close going through Barcroft, hasn't quite got past just yet. So maybe just, wouldn't say he's biding his time, but just trying to find a prime opportunity. And for that second group of cars, we do need to watch out for Lars Hoffman. Watch for car 70, that's the red and white car with the Motul sponsorship. Currently in 9th place, he's got past Andy Lees, and he's now going to try and get onto the back of this second train of cars, headed up by Harry Cook, who's in 5th position. So he will try and pick them off one by one as the race continues on. There's the top four going through Clairvaux, line astern. We've got Thompson, Yates, Wingfield, and Walters all together back through Hawthorns. This is on lap 5. Up through the S's once again. So Thompson looking pretty comfortable in front. He's not being put under too much pressure, but he's got himself far enough in front so that when David Yates gets close in the slipstream down the back straight towards Tower Bend, he's not close enough to try and make a dive up the inside. He needs to be much closer exiting the S's in order to line him up for that pass. I saw that a couple of times yesterday in the Fun Cup in terms of trying to make moves. And it was all about how close you were coming off that right-left through the S's onto that back straight, because the run through that part of the course is all important to carry the speed and momentum all the way through towards Tower Bend, when you can try and pull alongside and get into the braking zone. There's the leaders then. Thompson just up now through sunny in and sunny out, right at the back of the circuit. And David Yates, who scored his best results of the season so far this year. Before that, he scored a 3rd place, but second has now become his new best. Although up the inside, diving into the complex goes James Wingfield. Yates sticks it round the outside, looks for the right-hander for the second part of the complex. They'll go wheel to wheel on the exit. Little punch on the brakes there, too much there for Yates. He locked the outside front. Wingfield has the track position turning into the hairpin, and he's up into 2nd place. So Wingfield then moves car number 13 into 2nd place at the expense of David Yates. And now Yates will not only try and have to recover that position, but now come under attack from Pete Walters in 4th place in the black number 88 machine. As for Lars Hoffman, he's also now just picked off Harry Landy down the pit straight, so he's now up into 8th place at the expense of car 21. So watch out for him if you're watching around the circuit in towards Clairvaux now. He's just trying to go around the outside. Well, he was trying to go around the outside. We're just seeing out my commentary box window, Landy's got back past him, so he was ahead across the line, but Landy had the inside to try and inside part of the circuit to try and hold on to the position. There's on screen David Yates now trying to get past James Wingfield again down towards Tower. And just behind them, I can see Andrew Murgatroyd getting past Jeff Price. That's a move for 6th place behind them. Jeff Price having quite a strong race at this point, up in P6, having a decent weekend, so doing strong at the moment. Top 4 have that advantage. As at the back of the circuit, I can see David Yates is putting James Wingfield under attack. Just out of the exit, the Jim Clark S's, he was quite close, but that's quite a daring part of the circuit. It's a very fast left-right section of that course, and trying to go side by side or trying to make a move there, only the brave can manage that. We saw some quite brave moves yesterday in the Fun Cup, for example, when we had Marcus Clutton going side by side with Harry Mailer on the last lap for 2nd place in that race. And the Caterham certainly have got plenty of fortitude to try and get themselves alongside each other when trying to make moves. So top 3 have now again just started to drop the 88 and Pete Walters, because David Yates all over the curbs on the inside of the hairpin, trying to find a way back past James Wingfield as they come back down the pit straight to complete lap 6. And there's still 20.5 minutes to go in this race, and we've only just got past a third of the way through this second Bilstein Caterham 7 3-10R Championship race of the weekend. So Thompson then has a gap of just about half a second or so. He's not being allowed to, he just has set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:31.817, but fastest laps, if you look at the top three, have all set at 1:31.8. So the fastest of the three being Thompson, then it's Yates and then Wingfield. And the gap between them in terms of pace is about roughly half a tenth of a second. But going for the outside line for second place to reclaim that position is David Yates, but once more, just can't quite find a way to get the job done at Tower Bend. He's either gone inside or outside to make a move, but either has to capitulate and back out of it, or it's just too far back to even try. So Yates is going to have to probably get his elbows out and get a little bit closer to the first few corners at the start of the next lap to stand any chance of getting through. Just reporting on the progress of Lars Hoffman whilst we watch the leaders come up through Barcroft and then the sunny double right-hander. And Lars Hoffman is kind of got a bit stuck here. He's not gone as high in the 8th position because he's finding it a bit difficult trying to get around Harry Landy at this point. Now then, James Wingfield, meanwhile, is putting Lewis Thompson under his first challenge for a little while since David Yates was on his tail. So Wingfield's now taking his turn to put Thompson under attack. Remember, Thompson's going for his 8th win, not just of the season, but on the bounce, because I remind you, he missed the rounds at Donington Park, but ever since he joined at Knockhill, he has won every single race since he first appeared this season. He has done a couple of seasons already under his belt in Caterham Racing, but this is his first proper chance at going for the championship, and he really is gunning for it. Pete Walters in 4th place, who was the championship leader before Thompson took over not long ago. He's going to go through, round the outside, looks, James Wingfield into Clever, that could be a great pass, he's done it, up the outside, into the lead goes James Wingfield, superb racecraft from car 13, but he'll drift wide on the exit, back up the inside goes the Lewis Thompson. They're going to go side by side. Wingfield bails out and thinks, forget this, I'm not going side by side, I'm going to go through, and through the middle will come David Yates. It's going to be 3 and they 4 abreast down towards the back straight. They are going to go 4 abreast, they're side by side down towards Tower Bend, and Pete Walters comes out on top of all of them. Up the inside into Tower Bend, it's side by side between Walters and Yates, and somehow Walters got the toe and got past from 4th to 1st in one move down the back straight. That is sensational driving from former champion Pete Walters, from 4th to 1st in one move down the back straight. Incredible stuff, and they're not finished yet. Side by side for second between Yates and Wingfield. Wingfield's on the inside line. Thompson's been shuffled all the way back from a lead to 4th place. Incredible stuff at the front of the field, but the new order, as Andy McKeon settles in at probably the opportune moment, it's now Walters that leads, Wingfield 2nd, David Yates 3rd, and Pete Walters 4th. Must have sensed you were coming, Andy, because the moment that you kicked the commentary box, they've all kicked off for the lead.
There's no mistaking when you're at a Caterham event, is there? Because I walk into the comms box to see you hanging on the ceiling with excitement and it all kicking off on track, and it continues to do so now. What a brilliant battle we've got here for the race victory. Kind of a repeat, really, of what we saw yesterday, isn't it? We've got this little group of drivers that have a small pace advantage over the rest of the field this weekend, but amongst themselves, they are super evenly matched. It's Pete Walters that will come across the line then to lead this 8th lap of the race, but the top 4 just 1 second apart. Challenge on for 2nd place here. James Wingfield busy defending them from, in fact, no, Wingfield, I beg your pardon, is ahead of Walters. That was a challenge for the lead then. Wingfield going ahead, Walters down to 2nd, Yates 3rd, and Lewis Thompson in 4th place. Now, I was doing some maths, Scott, overnight. Not my strongest subject, admittedly. But Lewis Thompson, I reckon once the dropped scores are applied, is actually your new championship leader. You never would have thought that, given the fact that he missed that first event of the year.
Yeah, well, he's trying to get back up the inside for 3rd place at the expense of David Yates, who throughout this race so far has had the opportunity to try and get past people, but hasn't really been able to pull the moves off. Though he's going daring this time, getting his elbows out. He's side by side to hold the inside line for the first part of the Jim Clark S's. I think wisely Lewis Thompson's back out of it. Well, it looks like Yates backed out of it, so he decided, no, I'm not going to have any part of that, and stays in the 3rd place. Meanwhile, Wingfield pokes his nose up the inside through Barcroft into the sunny complex, and Walters managed to get himself back in front. But that was an incredible, just going back to that move, it was practically 4 abreast down the back straight towards the complex tower, and I'll come back to the point in a second, because Walters now under threat from both Thompson, who sails up onto the back of both of them. It was a poor exit from Walters that put Wingfield up onto his outside line. Wingfield trying to get up the outside line, now up the inside of Walters, who've got a little bit sideways into the complex, round the outside for seconds, try and give Wingfield a taste of his own medicine for what he did at Clairvaux. He's now back into 2nd place, up the inside. Yes, he is. Right, pass me at Clairvaux, where on the outside, will you? Have some of that round the complex, goes Thompson. So he's back into 2nd, but not for long, because Wingfield will get back in the slipstream, down the outside, and as they battle, Wingfield will start to Walters will start to pull away, and it will bring David Yates back into the mix, because the harder these two fight each other, the easier it is for the cars in front to make a break, and the cars behind start catching up.
And one of those cars behind is Harry Cookford, who was the unluckiest man in yesterday's race, wasn't he? Twice he fought back to catch up to the lead. It's not on both occasions something happened that delayed him and took him ultimately out of the lead fight. So he in 5th position, then car number 9 is almost with them now, side by side for the lead, 3 wide for the lead down towards Tower, because James Wingfield gets a run on the battling Lewis Thompson and Pete Walters and tries to take the lead from Thompson ultimately around the outside at Tower. And you know what, I think he's going to pull it off. Wingfield comes out to the right-hander ahead, Thompson second, Walters third, and Yates in 4th place. But I do have one eye on Harry Cook then. He was 1 second adrift of the 4th place car at the start of the lap. That means he's just about close enough, I reckon, to get a bit of a slipstream from the cars ahead. And as they keep battling, we're still only halfway through the race, 15 minutes still to go, and Harry Cook is almost there with them. It's Wingfield then that leads them out of Sunny, 2nd place for Walters, 3rd place looks as though, 2nd place for Thompson, 3rd for Walters, 4th for Yates, and Harry Cook is arriving pretty rapidly on their tail as they come down towards the end of the 9th lap of the race.
So back into the complex again, and you're actually rightfully saying Harry Cook has made good of the pace that he's had to try and pull away from that second pack to get into the mix. But it's now James Wingfield taking his turn to lead a lap here at Croft in the second race, and this is a bit more energetic than it was yesterday. It was quite a decent race, but they've really got their elbows out for this second point. And as you rightfully say, we've only just hit the halfway point now. Then I did notice there was a black and white flag that went out for somebody. It was a car with a single digit. I can now confirm it was Andy Lees, because he's now been slapped with a 5-second time penalty for track limits. That will be, I'm certainly, either for Clairvaux, or as I mentioned earlier on, down at Exeting Jim Clark Exeting, there's a huge tarmac and concrete runoff area there, so drivers do like to take liberties and run a little bit wide. And so obviously Senior Clerk of the course, Ray Sumner, has seen he's transgressed one too many times and slapped him with a 5-second penalty as a result. The leading group goes back down towards the complex at Tower. I can see out my window Walters trying to go for 2nd place into Tower. Ben ran outside, which he does. We were looking at Harry Landy, who's now having a scrap with Andy Lees, who has that 5-second penalty, and lurking behind both of them is Lars Hoffman. So Lees got past Hoffman, is trying to get past Harry Landy at this point. They're going to wheel to wheel, and they almost clash wheels exiting the right-hander at Tower. We're back with our leaders. They're going up towards Barcroft and Sunny Inn, and it's now, by the looks of it, I think Lewis Thompson's got himself back into the lead somehow, with Walters 2nd, Wingfield 3rd, and still Andy. David Yates back in 4th position, just biding his time, but also cautious of a charging Harry Cook behind him.
Yeah, Harry Cook sort of caught them, but now he's got to try and find a way through it. That isn't going to be quite as easy to do. I was convinced just now that there was a car off at Tower. I saw a big cloud of dust. It's the farm having his field, so I'll try not to let that confuse me again as the rest of the day goes on. Through the hairpin they go. He's got a great view of the action there, hasn't he? Because Tower has been where most of the overtaking has been so far in this race. What about Clairvaux though? That's the next opportunity for Pete Walters to get back ahead of Lewis Thompson. Car number 18, I'm afraid, is off. That's Dave Bullock. That looks like the exit of the Sunny complex. He gets going again though with no obvious damage to the car, so he should be able to continue, albeit at the back of the pack. The front of the pack though, it is well and truly a 5-way scrap for the victory now, with just over 12 and a half minutes to go. Thompson, Walters, Wingfield, Yates and Cook is the order going on to the back straight. By the time we get down to Tower though, that could well have changed. The top 3 distancing themselves slightly from Yates and Cook, but that could all change again as they get down towards the braking zone. Wingfield getting a run, so too was Walters though, 3 wide for the lead. Wingfield on the outside, Walters on the inside, Thompson squeezed in the middle, and it's Lewis that will potentially lose 2 places here. He's certainly going to go down to 2nd, with Walters getting the lead through Tower corner. Thompson now though tries to fight back as they head towards the Jim Clark S's.
And he did well to try and hold on the inside line, exiting Tower Bend, and they're still going to go wheel to wheel through here. Looks like the one's backed out is Walters. Walters lost lots of momentum. Thompson's got through, so has Wingfield, and finally David Yates has managed to get past somebody, because he's been the one that's been attacking, either been passed or gone to make a move and not be able to pull it off as they come through the right few couple of corners. Harry Cook now, of course, meanwhile, he's right on the tail of Pete Walters. He's now made it a quintet rather than a quartet at the front of the pack as well. So that's now starting to close up a little bit. I've noticed also Andy Lees hasn't quite learnt from his penalty, because he's now just not been given a 5-second penalty, but an additional 10 seconds for further track limits. If you keep on doing that, you can be as far as being black flagged. So be very careful with that as they come back into the hairpin. 11 and a half minutes still to go in this first race. Not a bad way to kick off Sunday's action, where Saturday was quite excellent, but we're getting quite a treat here for our second 310R race of the weekend. Back across the pit straight goes the top 5. It's now in this current order, which you probably won't stay for long, but currently to keep up, it is currently Thompson, Wingfield, Yates, Walters and Cook. Meanwhile, the background, we've got a spin for Henry Williams up at the complex, but he's managed to get going just as the rest of the pack comes through behind him. We're still watching the leaders on our screen here as they turn out through the right-hander at the Essex, the Hawthorns, now through the S's again. Now as they come onto the back straight, it's now Thompson trying to break away, but the strength of the toe of this Caterham is so big. As they come back down towards the complex, he's going to dive up the inside and now walking with a great run. But again, same as Yates had earlier on, gets that run down the back straight, but then there's a point where simply he just runs out of room to try and make that pass. Now, eventually he has to hit the brakes. If he's not that close enough to try and make that dive and isn't confident enough to make it, he has to back out of it, and that can lose him momentum and pace off the corner, which then brings Yates, Walters and Cook back into play to try and not only get onto his tail, but possibly steal second place and more from him in the next few corners.
Yeah, as soon as you draw alongside another car into a corner, it's going to lose you both times. So you may as well fully commit to the move and at least get the position out of it. If you sort of have a half look and then bail out of it, you've lost all that momentum, didn't gain a position out of it anyway. So, again, easy for us to say up here, I suppose. It takes quite some commitment to make an overtake when you're as close together as this. It's Wingfield that's got the lead then as they come through the complex from Thompson, Yates, Walters, and Harry Cook, who's sort of just keeping a watching brief in fifth. I reckon Harry Cook knows that after his misfortune yesterday, he maybe just needs to play it a bit more sensible, let the race come to him, rather than getting too stuck in. There he's got the fifth place car, Harry Cook, having caught them. He's not really attempted to do an awful lot about them. As I say that, though, he goes on the grass down to Clairvaux to try and take fourth place away from Pete Walters.
Can't say he's not committed, because he's certainly going for it down there. Up the inside he goes and makes the move stick. So who needs to put all four wheels on the track to make a move? So daring stuff from Harry Cook then to get the place done. I'm sure Walters will stick as close as he's ever been through the S's to try and get back past it. So you can guarantee they'll be going side by side down towards Tower.
They made contact.
They did. And off the road is gone. Well, Harry Cook's gone forwards, but it's Pete Walters who's got damage to the front nose. And also, looks like he's got, well, the nose has come off. And there was some steam sort of shooting out of the radiators. So he's now unfortunately out of the race. That'll be crucial for Pete. That'll be, I think, his first DNF. The dust cloud you're seeing on screen is what was after the two cars went off. Harry Cook carried on, but Pete Walters' car has pulled his car behind the barriers. Sadly, Pete Walters is out of this, and he will take no further part with another 9 minutes still to go. For the leaders who are quite oblivious to this, because it happened behind them, it's now Wingfield, Thompson and Yates for the podium. Harry Cook is now down to, he's still fourth, I think. He was so far ahead of the next group. He hasn't lost a place, but he's lost a bunch of time. He's just flashing through the shot. He might even be under threat from Andrew Murgatroyd and Jeff Price in the next group, so they can be battling over three cars over fifth place, or fourth place. But the scrap for the podium now, and the win, is between these top three at the front. Thompson, then it's Wingfield, then Yates. Harry Cook is still fourth, but he is now being closed down pretty quickly by both Murgatroyd and Price, who will sense the opportunity. They might have seen that possibly in the distance something happening ahead. If they sense that Cook is off the pace now, they want to try and gun for him with 8.5 minutes to go.
You couldn't script it for Cook, could you? Just as happened yesterday. As soon as he does decide to get stuck in, it all goes wrong and he ends up falling back again. Amazingly, though, that number 9 car doesn't seem too badly damaged, so he should be able to continue in fourth. I think his pace hopefully shouldn't go down too much. That has, though, allowed the top three to escape, as you said. Lewis Thompson has the lead then with 8 minutes left on the clock, heading out of the chicane, but James Wingfield is more than close enough now to get that slipstream, so I think Wingfield will probably have the lead long before they even arrive at Tower Corner. He's almost fully ahead before they hit the brakes. He's on the outside line, but Thompson knew better than to fight that, and so Wingfield does go back into the lead of the race then. Thompson down to second, and David Yates in third place. Championship-wise, Wingfield is the one that could really benefit from this, isn't he? Because he was sat there third in the points, just a single point now behind Harry Cook, who has fallen down in fourth place. So Wingfield could get the victory here ahead of Lewis Thompson. That could really, really help him in the points.
I have to say, it's pretty impressive stuff for Lewis, who is, I think, by far the youngest driver on the grid, because it's through the very helpful info that we get from Neera Caterham. So thank you to Neera Caterham for rising that. Lewis Thompson, who's only 18 years old, and so you wouldn't think, given some of the rev drop, particularly what he's putting off now, trying to go round the outside of James Wingfield as they turn back into the complex. And he's still looking round the outside with David Yates sniffing around in third place to try and get a move. Just behind them, Harry Cook has been closed down by Andrew Murgatroyd. Jeff Price is trying to go with them as they turn back into the complex once again, and out to the hairpin. Looks as though we might get 2-3 car fights for first and fourth place. Down the pit straight they go then. Just under 7 minutes left in this first race of the day, 6 3/4 to be exact, and now it's Thompson's turn to try and make an attack on Wingfield. He had a look down the inside briefly, but Wingfield had the line covered by sweeping around the outside. Through Clairvaux and Hawthorns they go once more. Now back through the S's, and now all three are quite close enough, and I think for the first time in a while, David Yates is as close as he needs to be to not only make a move on second, but even line him up for the lead. So here comes Thompson to the outside, side by side down the back straight towards Tower. He gets his nose in front. What about Yates? Where's he coming from? He's coming from quite a long way back, but he starts out to the inside, as he's done several times, but again, like we talked about, getting a run and then backing out of it loses you all that pace and momentum, and on the exit, he's quite close, but he's lost about half a car length as a result of that. So it's a good strategy if you can pull yourself alongside in time, but if not, it's just wasting time and energy trying to get past when you can do it later on.
And it's all because he's maybe half a car length too far back when they get to the braking zone. So he almost needs to reverse his strategy a bit, concentrate on getting out of Hawthorne and the chicane a little bit better, be a little bit closer to them, and then you can fully commit to that move. But again, that's not easy to do if you're struggling a bit from rear grip, especially then Hawthorne and the chicane out onto that back straight can be a real handful. But this ain't over yet, still got 5.5 minutes to go. Thompson with the advantage still as they make their way through the chicane, through the complex I should say, at the end of the lap. Wide line there through the right hand of V8's in third as he maybe tried to set up the attack into the hairpin, but again, he wasn't quite close enough. What an amazing run this is that Lewis Thompson's been on though. 7 race victories from 7 races started this season. That's what, as I said, has put him provisionally in the points lead once those 3 drop scores are calculated, and he's on now for an 8th in a row potentially, because he's ahead of Wingfield as they go on to the 17th lap of the race, and really everything that Wingfield throws at him, Thompson seems to have an answer so far.
Yeah, and it's excellent stuff from the young 18-year-old who is doing a fantastic job to make sure that he remains in front here, despite the fact that Wingfield's got a little bit more experience than he has, and so, of course, has David Yates. David Yates has been a race winner before and been 4th for the championship at one point, but he's currently 3rd in this race, and watching these two go at it once more as Wingfield this time has Thompson dive a little bit later on the brakes in towards Tower Bend to defend, but round the outside for the second time it looks like will go James Wingfield. Thompson tries to fight back and don't go side by side into the Jim Clark S's. That might not work, but they're going to go for it anyway, and eventually Thompson backs out, slots in behind Wingfield, who retakes the lead, but a great run off of Jim Clark S's. Now round the outside he looks at Barcroft, that's not going to work either, down towards the Sunny Complex too for the double right-hander, and it's now Wingfield who takes his turn in the lead. I wonder if David Yates is just keeping his powder dry here. Of course, he has won a race before, and his best results in the championship, as I said, has been 4th, and he's won races in other series, but he says his best in Caterham is P2, and says it needs to change. So he equalled his best by the looks, according to the info here, in 2nd place. So he wants to try and get himself a win. He's currently in 3rd. He's got some work to do to try and get past Thompson and then Wingfield. He needs to do a bit of good fortune, or just to pick his way through if he can to try and make it happen. So just under 4 minutes to go then. Just further back from these top 3, just behind them. Harry Cook is keeping Andrew Murgatroyd at bay. The pair have dropped Jeff Price a little bit, but Jeff is having one of his better races of the season up in P6, so strong run so far for Jeff. 7th place now for Harry Landy, who has been in a bit of a back and forth battle with Lars Hoffman, whose progress seems to have pretty much been halted ever since he came from the back of the grid. And he's found Harry Landy to be the cork in the bottle that he didn't really want. So he's going to try and work out his best, try and get close as best he can. Speaking of getting close, back down the back straight towards Tower again, and here comes Thompson, sweeps to the inside line, does the dummy down towards the Tower Bend. They're going to be side by side again. Will Thompson sweep across to the braking zone? He does, because Wingfield, as he turns in, has to make sure he's back behind. He'll try for the undercut exiting Tower, and now the short straight towards the Jim Clark S's. David Yates is in the toe of both of them. He's going to get close, and they're going to be as close as you like. 3 of them together through Jim Clark S's. Left and then right, now back towards Barcroft again. Yates is having a great run here to try and get back on the tail of both of them. Back in towards the right hand of Sonny. He will get close as they turn out, and then back in again. Just see the marshals on the inside watching on the bank, getting a great view here of this fantastic Caterham race at the front. Typical close Caterham racing here, always nose to tail, always exciting, and always quite a treat to watch. 2.5 minutes left. We're going to get this time by. We're going to have 2 more laps to go, I reckon. Because lap times are around 1 minute 32 for the front runners, so going to get, I think, this and one more. There's about 2 minutes 20 left. So yeah, 2 more laps to go in the books for the second Bilstein Caterham 7.310R race. It's going to be unsure one of these 3 that's going to win the race. Wingfield, Thompson or Yates. The question's got to be which order they're going to cross the line and who's going to come out on top. They're going to complete lap 18 onto the penultimate lap of this race. And it's now Wingfield doing the chasing. Thompson's back into the lead again. Remember, he's looking for his 8th consecutive win. Literally, his win record this year, since he joined in Knock Hill, is 100%. So he's won all the races that he started this year so far. He can keep that up. He's always a little bit wiggly on the exit. He's off wide on the exit of the corner. And look at David Yates. David Yates shot past both of them. I think Wingfield backed off because Thompson was wide on the exit over the grass. Wingfield backed off. They're side by side for second. But David Yates has shot past both of them and is straight into the lead on the penultimate lap. They're still side by side through Tower. Wingfield's on the outside line. Thompson edges him out wide onto the curb, but they're still wheel to wheel down towards Jim Clark S's. But David Yates, ever the opportunist, shot past them like a bullet out of a gun. That was a sensational run off the corner. I think those two were so focused with each other. I'm not sure there was a bit of contact, or just they both ran wide off the exit and killed their momentum. David Yates got them perfect run off the S's, which he really needed to make, down the back straight and fired past them like they were standing still. Incredible stuff. So David Yates then, in car number 15, with the first car down the complex, those watching down there, that you'll see come into view in the black car. He's in there now. But now Lewis Thompson's second and Wingfield's third, and not far behind them now are both Harry Cook and Andrew Murgatroyd. I'm not sure they will catch the top three to be involved in this last-minute fight, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, David Yates is in the lead with 45 seconds left to go as he comes onto the final lap of this race. Can he hold on for both Lewis Thompson and James Wingfield? It says here he has taken a victory, although in the racing achievements it did say David Yates has won races in other CAT series, but his best in Caterham has been P2. It needs to change. I'm not sure if it's old information, but he'll have a very popular one if he can hold on. He's slightly sideways through the right-hander at Clairvaux, up through Hawthorns. Now, looking at the run where Thompson is, will he get a strong enough run to possibly try and get him down towards Tower Bend? David Yates will have to defend for his life here, down towards the right-hander, because Thompson will start to edge closer towards him. Wingfield will get the double toe. He's getting closer, down towards Tower. Where's he going to go? To the inside line, shooting up the inside. There goes Thompson into the Tower corner. He goes for the move. Has he outbraked himself? The answer is no, he hasn't. He parks the car perfectly on the apex and denies David Yates the lead. But down towards the Jim Clark S, they're nose to tail again. In this order, Thompson from Yates from Wingfield through the Jim Clark S's for the final time. Thompson back into the lead, looking for win number 8. Yates is looking for his first win in a while. Back into Barcroft. Is it going to be a typical Caterham sprint to the finish and a drag race to a line? Thompson back in front. Yates possibly thought he had the glory, but Thompson with a super run off the S's managed to get himself back in the mix. And Thompson's now got about a car length or so on Yates. They'll head back in towards the complex. Now I think, as hard as Yates will try, you might have to settle for second place. It's going to be a repeat of the podium all over again. And yes, let's get a great run off the hairpin and try and deny Thompson right at the flag. Into the hairpin for the final time. Wingfield has a look up the outside for second, but Yates is going to have to hold on. And still, they can't defeat him up towards the checkered flag for the 8th win in a row in 2021. Lewis Thompson grabs victory in race 2 at Croft. A brilliant battle at the front. Second to David Yates and third to James Wingfield. The top 3 covered by 0.785 of a second, with Harry Cook in 4th, Andrew Murgatroyd 5th. Jeff Price picks up P6, and then the battle for 7th place has been going on race long. Lars Hoffman did find a way past Harry Landy and pulled away by a few seconds, so much so that Landy comes through in 8th, just ahead of David Christie, who were battling in the mix as well. It'll be 10th place for Henry Williams. 11th place will go to, it'll be 11th place on the road to Andy Lees, but he'll drop to 13th behind the battle scrap that's been going on between Metcalf and Welch. They're going to drag race to the line, and I think it'll be Chris Welch who will beat Metcalf towards the checkered flag. But of course they'll finish ahead on the timing because Andy Lees has that 15-second penalty, a stack of penalties after he got the track limits penalties. Then it will be 22 of Curtis that will come through to pick up the final finishing spot. The 2 cars that we sadly lost, of course. So it's Gary Curtis, not Alan Curtis, forgive me. Gary Curtis comes across in 14th place, and Pete Walter sadly didn't finish after he made contact with Harry Cook. And then Dave Bullock in 16th place, who also came into the pits halfway through. Wow, what a fantastic run. If you're watching trackside, give these guys a round of applause. Fantastic stuff from Caterham's as always. And there are 4 more races for them coming up today. 2 Caterham Academy races and Roadsport and 270. For the benefit of the stream, Thompson takes the victory. He's 8th in a row. There is simply no stopping him yet. Yates picks up 2nd place, Wingfield 3rd, Cook and Murgatroyd round out the top 5 from Price, Hoffman, Landy, Christie and Williams rounding out the top 10. Even though he didn't finish, Pete Walters takes the fastest lap of the race. And then it's Chris Welch, Stephen Metcalf, Andy Lees after his time penalties pushed him down 2 places, and Gary Curtis the final finisher, and we lost Pete Walters and Dave Bullock. I need my breath back for a second after that. That was incredible stuff to kick off today's action. And of course, they'll be back out next time, as will all the Caterham Championships at the end of today. They'll be back out at Snetterton in October. For now, though, that is it for the Caterham racing for those watching on the Caterham stream. But for those watching on the BRSEC stream, we've got the first of our 2 races for today of the Nankang Tyre City Car Cup coming up next to Croft. So stay tuned, there's more of that coming up very shortly for their first race here on this BRSEC and Caterham live stream.